This video I'm going to talk about Venezuela dangerous gang TDA that came across the border, as well as other criminal activities, dangerous people that are roaming free in America at this time due to the open border. First, I want to start off by showing you some videos.
Even a deadly threat facing both our state as well as our country. It's the recent entry and expansion of the vicious Venezuela gang known as Tren de Aragua, also known as TDA. Officials are concerned about what is going on with TDA. Its recent expansion and entry of this gang could destabilize public safety in the United States as well as in the state of Texas. For us, and law enforcement across the state, our top priority is the security and the safety of our fellow Texans. This is a nonpartisan, bipartisan issue that everybody agrees upon, that we need to aggressively address this threatening challenge. TDA is characterized as MS-13 on steroids. TDA is the largest criminal organization in Venezuela. It started as a prison gang in the state of Aragua, Venezuela, and has now expanded to a transnational criminal organization. Now they are dominating the international flow of migrants from South America through Mexico into the United States. TDA is notorious for their brutal violence and murder, and their kidnapping, extortion, bribery, and trafficking of drugs, weapons, and even humans. They've been linked to more than 100 law enforcement investigations across the country. They were involved in the brutal attack and assault upon New York Police Department law enforcement officers. Reports have also linked TDA to the murder of Lincoln Riley. Intelligence reports show TDA has been given the green light to shoot law enforcement officers in the United States. In other countries infiltrated by TDA, history has shown they first flood the countries with military-age Venezuelan men. Next, they begin to establish a base of operations. Finally, TDA begins a spree of violent and bloody criminal activity. We've now seen the beginnings of these operations in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and Sandra, bear with me. We just got these numbers moments ago, but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered, deported from the country by a judge, but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there. Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges who are roaming the country, and another 4,250 non-citizens who have pending sexual assault charges who are roaming the country on the non-detained docket. So people's eyes might be glazing over right now with all the numbers we just threw at you. Just to put it in a nutshell right here, what we've learned from the acting ICE director via this letter to Congressman Tony Gonzalez is right now there are over 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of homicide who are roaming the United States right now. There are another 15,811 illegal aliens roaming the country right now who have been convicted of sexual assault, and there are even more who are facing charges for homicide and charges for sexual assault. So this just goes to show, guys, the non-detained docket has exploded under the Biden administration to over, I believe it's 7.3 million. They're anticipating it could hit 8 million by the end of the year. But looking at the numbers on this letter right here, there are currently over 600,000 non-citizens on ICE's non-detained docket who are either convicted, 600,000 non-citizens on this non-detained docket who are roaming the country right now. Of that, 425,000 have already been convicted of crimes. 222,000 are pending crimes. And again, the most serious crimes we just told you about, over 13,000 convicted of homicide, over 15,000 convicted of sexual assault. And honestly, that is not a surprise to hear given these horrible headlines we keep seeing popping up in multiple parts of the country almost every day now of a horrible sexual assault or a murder or another violent felony committed by an illegal alien who is often caught and released from custody. And the jaw dropper here too, guys, is all these numbers we just rattled off, they don't even account for the nearly 2 million gotaways who have crossed our border under the Biden administration. Those almost 2 million gotaways, they were never encountered by DHS. They snuck in. They were never caught by Border Patrol. They were never encountered by ICE. There's no record of them. So they have nothing to do with the numbers I just rattled off to you. These are just the numbers of people that ICE has already encountered, that Border Patrol has encountered, that DHS knows who they are. And we just saw those horrible stories in Nantucket the other day. ICE ran a week-long operation in Nantucket, and in a single operation in a 48-hour span, they arrested 2 Salvadoran illegal aliens who came into the country as gotaways and were arrested for child rape on Nantucket. They got a Brazilian guy who was arrested for sexually assaulting a Nantucket resident, and then a Guatemalan guy who was previously deported who was arrested for sexually assaulting a Nantucket resident. So we keep seeing all these headlines about migrant crime popping up in different cities all over the country. This right here is the first time we have ever seen specific numbers as to who and what ICE is tracking when it comes to convicted criminals who have crossed the border at some point and are either supposed to be deported or are going through their immigration proceedings, but are not in ICE custody right now and are roaming the country.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and then infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested in. When the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke, it's going to go up in flame, and it's going to be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets, blacks against migrants.
This is not a black issue. This is not a white issue. It's an American issue. The current Democratic Party, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris currently have the power to change things in America when it pertains to the border. They will not do anything with the power they currently have. But Kamala, who's running for president, is steady asking America to give her 4 more years, and she's going to make the change then that she can be making now. What is going to happen between now and election time? What's going to happen between now and when the new president actually takes the seat? What is going to happen between now and the next 4 years if things do not change? The border is open. People are steady coming in, steady coming across the borders. There are extra predators that we know of that came across the border as well as the ones we don't know about. There are murderers that came across the borders that we do know about, as well as the ones we don't know about. And everything else, we have human trafficking, we have ex trafficking, we have issues with minors, things going on with minors. We have all this criminal element coming across the border, and I'm not saying it's all the illegal migrants, but they're mixing in with the illegal migrants, and they're coming across the border. Not only are they criminal elements that's coming across the borders, they're also getting and qualified to get assistance that a lot of American people that need those assistance are not able to get. Like I said, how the system is set up, if you make 20 cents more than what they say you are allowed to make, you don't qualify. If you're trying to get insurance and you don't have an address, they're not going to give you any type of benefit. In order for an American to get benefits, they're asking them for some type of address. They're asking them to show Social Security. They're asking them to show birth certificates. Illegal immigrants come over. They have they already know they're illegal immigrants, and they get everything. They're pushed in the forefront. People need housing. They're pushed back, but illegal immigrants are pushed forward. Eventually, it's going to get to a breaking point. They know this, but they still do not do anything about it. These are human beings that we're talking about, people's lives, people's livelihoods. That's the part that hurts me the most. It's not about illegal immigrants coming across the border. It's about everything else that's coming across the border with these illegal immigrants and what it's doing to American citizens. As far as illegal drugs, these people are getting high with the new drug that Venezuela drug gangs are now selling in this country, Tutsi or the Pink Sea. Then it's also, you have to worry about your kids. Are your kids going to be okay walking to school, or is it some predator or your girlfriend or your wife, your child, your daughter, someone that you love might get victimized by these predators. And if a war did break out in Chicago, that's not going to be a good thing. And it's not just the gangs, like American gangs, defending themselves against Venezuela's gangs, TDA. It's not just that. Normal American citizens who have no desire to do any harm to anyone, but they do have weapons in order to protect themselves. Not thinking about this situation, but just normal everyday, I want to make sure my household is safe. I want to make sure my family is safe. If this keeps spreading and spreading and spreading because they're not putting a stop to it, how far is it going to go? Is it going to start involving regular citizens taking law into their own hands in order to protect themselves? It's like if the police officer cannot do anything to a Venezuela person in New York and they're allowed to attack the police, then where's the protection? If the police can't even defend themselves against these illegal migrants, how can they go about protecting the everyday citizen? This is not America anymore. This is getting to a third world country. The Democratic Party and everyone who supports them, that is what y'all are supporting. I wish y'all would wake up and see what's really going on. That is what y'all are supporting. This country is going to go down if something isn't done about it. And Kamala, who is not black, who's still trying to stick with that lie, and that's the main thing she's focusing on. That's the main thing the media is focusing on. Certain things that Donald Trump said, instead of her dealing with the issue that's affecting everybody in this country. Not about her. She needs to stop worrying about, any of that. focus on this country. What are you going to do to help the citizens of this country? The same citizens that you want them to vote for you, what are you going to do for them to protect them? Are you still going to make more cities, force more cities to be sanctuary cities so you can get your way? Because you feel, the Democratic Party feel, if they can get more people to over across the border, these people will support them and if they can set it up where they're able to vote, they will get their support and they will end up getting more votes than the Republican Party. That's part of their plan because they want to stay in power. But the first thing you need to realize, sometimes when you make a monster, that monster will eventually turn on you. Y'all don't understand that. And that's what's going to eventually happen, because it's going to be like, I left my country to come to America for a better life, and I don't see that better life. The life I live now is worse than the one, or just as bad as the one I had. A lot of people in New York, a lot of migrants from New York got kicked out of hotels they were staying in. Now they have nowhere to go. Different things like this is going to continue to happen, because the more people you pile on, the more problems you're actually creating. You're not helping anyone. You're just creating more problems. But sometimes people want to become so powerful that they end up destroying themselves. And that's what's going to eventually happen. With those men in Chicago and other young men that feel the same way they do, that things might get out of hand and might end up in a war because they feel they need to protect themselves, they need to protect their neighborhoods. I understand that. I pray that it never get to that point. I pray that America finally wake up and see what's happening. Because like I said, it's not about a black thing or a white thing, because you see what's going on in Ohio. They're having problems there as well. But they set it up that way where, like I said, the darker skinned people went towards to live in areas that's predominantly white. The lighter skinned people went to live in areas that's predominantly black. And so if either side say something, they can quickly say you're being racist instead of focusing on the policy. They love throwing out the race card. They always say it's the Republican side, but it's actually the Democrat side that love throwing out the race card. I pray that it doesn't get to that point, that things don't boil over, but at the same time, something has to give. Something, a boiling pot will eventually boil over if it's not taken care of, if it's not tended to. They're not doing anything to get this criminal activity, to gather these people up and get them out of this country for once and for all. And so I do not see Kamala Harris doing anything for this country, because if her heart was in the right place and she intended to do something for this country, it would have been done. She has the power as the border czar to take care of the border issue, but she hasn't. She has done nothing but run her mouth. You can make your mouth say anything. Actions always will speak louder than words. She put forth no action to help the situation at the border. The only thing she's doing is making it worse, because as time goes on, there's more people that's able to come into this country. But like I said, I pray we need, as Americans, as Christians, we need to pray for this country. We need to pray that it doesn't get to the point where there's an all-out war in this country between, gangs and the TDA, Venezuela gangs, the Venezuela gangs, very dangerous gangs coming into this country. I pray that it doesn't get to that point. And that's what we need to pray for as America, that this border issue is taken care of, and that we can get some type of control back over America, unlike the Democrats want to happen. And so I want to read a verse to you. And the first one is going to be John 10:10 ESV. And this is Jesus speaking. The thief comes only to steal and to kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. So we see everything that's going on in this country behind the Democratic Party. A lot of things that they have in place is against God and it's against nature, but they don't care. Why would you work hard to destroy your country? Why would you work hard to destroy your citizens? Why would you work hard to destroy your kids and not give them a chance to grow as normal people, to decide who they want to be? Instead, you want to control their minds and never give them a choice of being a boy or a girl, or there's only two genders, male and female, boy, girl, but to be in their bodies and grow up that way. Why take that choice away from them? The Democratic Party is working so hard to destroy this country at every angle you could possibly think of. So as Christians, we need to think about that. And we need to also look at Ephesians 6:11. And it says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. This is a spiritual warfare that we're fighting right now as Christians. And this is something that we need to be aware of. And so the most powerful thing we have, the most powerful weapon we have as Christians is prayer. And so that's why we need to use it. I know some people, look at Christians as being y'all pray about everything, because that's the most powerful weapon we have, especially in a spiritual warfare. Because once you pray, God steps in and takes over. So we need to continue to read our Bibles, know the Word, stay in the Word, and pray for this country. Pray that this country turn back to God and turn away from the wickedness that you see going on with everything. Think about everything that's going on in the news right now. It's very wicked. And so we need to pray that they turn away from the evil ways and turn back to God.